A couple kissing in the kitchen with the woman sitting on top of the sink. They are surprised when the door is opened and the woman's husband announces that he has arrived. Scared, they separate and take the screwdriver and open the closet to pretend it was tidying the sink pipe. When the husband enters the kitchen, he greets the wife asking if everything is okay, and the wife introduces the lover as her next-door neighbor named Pedro. He greets him with a handshake, while the wife explains the reason for her neighbor's presence. Her husband Jonathan finds it strange because everything was normal when he left this morning, and said that he had heard that his neighbor was dealing with these things, like a surrogate husband, and that Pedro had saved her by fixing the sink pipe for her. Jonathan asks the neighbor how much the work was, but Pedro says he didn't need to worry because this repair would be free, that it had been from the heart, and amends that today it had been free, and that if he ever needed it, he would deal with sink maintenance, electrical part of the house, and anything you needed just plugged in, returning the used screwdriver while he said goodbye to her husband, praising her lover's work and saying that it was good to have contacts from those who knew how to handle those things. When they leave the apartment and closes the door, the wife says good, that everything went well, and the lover smiles, asking if her husband had not suspected anything. She denies, saying that her husband was a fool and that he certainly took the excuse given by them. Pedro says goodbye to her with a kiss, and she asks if they could see each other later. He confirms and leaves for his own apartment while she enters hers and locks the door. Later, when Jonathan was sitting on the bed playing with his cell phone, his wife enters the room and asks her husband to look at his cell phone, as she was looking at a little shop that opened now, and that he had so many beautiful clothes, and that he had just seen a dress, showing his picture to her husband, praising and stating how beautiful that dress was. Her partner agrees. She happily asks if he would look good on her, and he confirms by nodding his head, saying yes. Then his wife looks at him and asks him to buy her that dress, because she hadn't bought any new clothes in so long and she would feel more beautiful. And she asks if he couldn't buy it. The husband says that things were very difficult there at work and that little money was coming in, and asked if there was no possibility for her to wait a little for him to give her that dress. The wife soon complains about waiting a little while, saying that it had been so long since Jonathan gave her a measly present, but her partner argues that he was short of money and things have been weak at the company lately. His wife starts to say that it's always like that there's little, wait a little, look it's hard, that she didn't ask for anything, and when she asked him for a gift there was never a way and it was always tight. Poor companion of hers says that things would get better as he watched her cross her arms and frown when he asked her for a little calm, and that next month he would leave. She buys and asks if it could be like this. A week later, while Jonathan was working, he receives a call and answers. When he recognizes the person on the other end of the line, says he was waiting for this weekend's shipment, and is surprised when the person on the other end of the line says there had a problem with the shipment and that it would be delayed a little. He, worried, asks how since last week the same thing had happened and this week he would be delayed again, and how he would be, his customers, and that things were going for him too bad and your bills were late, and he asks the boy not to do that, but on the other end of the line he is informed that the delivery delay would be 40 days. Not believing, Jonathan explains that in 40 days he would close the doors, and asks not to do that to him, and that he needed this delivery for the weekend because if he wouldn't run out of money to pay the bills because the tickets were close to expiring, and asks you to see what he could do to get the shipment to arrive on the set date. Later, when he gets home, he greets his wife and finds her sitting on the couch in the living room watching TV. She greets him by calling his name without looking at him and continues watching. Soon the husband catches her attention, saying they needed to talk. The worried wife looks at him and asks what they needed to talk about and why is he looking so dead. Jonathan explains that he is having several problems at work, that he had problems with the shipment, and that unfortunately he would not be able to deliver the goods on time. His wife answers okay, and says that his work is always a problem. That he also wanted to talk about something else with his companion, saying that he thought she would have to start working a little to be able to help him with the household expenses. His wife looks at him and asks what. She started to work, and he was the man of the house, the provider, that he at least had to take care of the household bills. Jonathan asks his wife to calm down when he sees she was getting angry, and asks if they didn't get married for that. In marriage it was what in pain, in joy, all together is companionship. Then his wife looks at him again and asks if she got married to share the house with him, saying she wasn't born for that, and asks Jonathan to understand something, that he barely paid the bills and that these days he had refused to give her a dress, and now wanted her to work and asks to do the favor, saying he was making fun of her. Jonathan calls her love and asks, for the love of God, that it would only be for a month and what it cost her to work a miserable month. She still doesn't want to believe what her husband is saying and asks if he's serious, saying it sounds like a joke. The wife asks if her salary was enough to pay the Marika of that rent, that the house was a throng. Jonathan says that he was not in good health either. His wife selfishly says that she wasn't a hospital, that she wasn't a doctor, and that she didn't know anything about what he was going through, that she was tired of that marriage, tired of everything, and that he denied her everything. That her husband did not give her anything, not even money to go to the salon or a new outfit, and that now he came to tell her that she would have to start working. Annoyed, she tells her partner that she is tired, that she wants to leave that house, that she didn't want that marriage anymore, and tells him to take care of himself with his company, to stay there and do it the way he wanted because she was tired. Her husband looks at her and asks how so. She says bye. In the room, while she was closing the suitcase, she was complaining about being tired of that mediocre life and that now she would have to work to split the bill, saying that she didn't deserve that much. Less born for this situation and starts calling her lover. When Pedro answers, she asks if everything is okay, and when on the other end of the line, her lover asks if everything is okay, she confirms and starts saying that she needed to talk to him, asking if he was home. When Pedro confirms, she says good because she was going to stop by, and tells him to wait at the door because she was already arriving, saying goodbye, saying that it wouldn't take long to leave, and says goodbye, hanging up. Not believing what he was saying, she asks what was that everything she had in that house, splitting the bill to pay for things, having to work, saying goodbye. 1 hour later, she finds herself in front of Pedro's house and greets him with a kiss and asking if everything was okay. He says yes and hugs her, saying he missed her. When he looks down, he sees a suitcase with her and asks her if she is going to travel. She replies that her things were in the suitcase because she had left that rubbish of her husband, that no one deserved someone like him. Pedro says that he had warned her that he really couldn't, and she agrees. Her lover looks at her and asks where to stay. She answers him that she would stay at her house, as she had left her husband and had brought her things for the two of them to live together. Pedro denies it and asks to wait, saying that one thing was the way they were getting together, but not staying at his house. Discredited, she asks her lover how could she not stay there with him, because she had left Jonathan and had nothing to do. Where to go? Pedro replies that it was her problem. Pedro excuses himself, entering and closing the gate in her face, saying that she was crazy if he thought she could stay at her house. Seeing him enter, she drops her suitcase on the floor and despairs. For true love will never make you suffer, because those who love take care and don't disappoint. Don't seek perfection, because no one is perfect. Just look for someone who will value you.